Hi, everybody.
Ciao.
I think Alex did it again, embarrassed me at the start. Thank you. So today, it's about the performance aspect. Even if a lot of the technology that we will see here may be used for a lot of other things, we focus on the performance in many ways. And we see how this can be used to improve the game, improve everything around the game. And I think I've been involved in this technology since, I don't know, the beginning of time. So I think it's at the moment where we are really, again, maybe at a tipping point. So where these things becomes what we design, imagine for years, now it's like, oh, it's really useful and valuable. But we will ask some of the panelists or are more on the receiving side of things. So let me introduce you Christian Holzer from Sporttech, who's one of the person that is making this happen. Hendrik Weber from the DFL, here with me. Manuel Baum, a famous coach, and now playing with kids, playing with the youth team of RB Leipzig, right?
Morning.
Hey, Manuel. And then JB Alliot, a fellow strategist, evangelist with a lot of experience, not only from the UEFA years, but where we met, but also in other federations and leagues. And finally, Alexander Feuerherdt, the year of the referee of the year. I don't remember. Thank you, Alex. Thank you.
Good morning.
So let's start with Christian. And I mean, where are we with all these data, cameras, things, these sport performance data technologies? Can you kind of do a state of the nation for us?
Love to do so, Carlo. So
when
we started back in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had basically manual data gathering all around the place.
Yeah.
It started to tracking systems started to grow. We had post-match tracking systems available at the time being 24 hours, 48 hours available, and longer. Everything was very manual driven. A lot of people had been involved in the process, and over time, technology become more important, more sophisticated, faster and faster, more powerful. So that as of today, we are not only gathering any more single events or a center of mass information of a player. In the meantime, we are at a state where we are able to track the individual joints, the individual limbs of a player, everything in real time. So that means that the information is much faster available. We have much more content available compared to the early days, since we have more powerful computing technologies available, cloud systems available with all the algorithms inside.
And Hendrik, from a league perspective, how is this helping you develop the game?
Well, I think, as Christian said, the pace of change in technology is immense, but huge investments went in. So like leagues or clubs, federations, like sports properties really last year's invested a lot in that, even though I think the level of maturity increased. So what I mean with maturity, so as a league, you really think, okay, does it really make a difference? Or does it really help me? Or is it just some technology and let's apply it? But really, does it help us to, on the sports side, I mean, we're today more focusing on the sports side. Obviously, as a league, you always think on the commercial side as well. So how can we use this to commercialize things? But as I said, so it's really more that the federation leagues are getting more and more mature, and it's not so much, let's just take it. So it's more, what is the problem you actually want to solve? What is actually the practical interest of a coach or even an athlete? And then let's see which technology actually fits to those needs.
So absolutely. So, but to talk about technology, and we want to show, and we have a live demos of technology. Yeah. We need some players, right? Because otherwise
I've seen them, so they are around.
So you can invite them, I think.
Yeah, maybe I can.
Don't risk. Please. I told you.
That was staged. As I said, we are going to have two youth teams from VfL Bochum and Fortuna Düsseldorf, the local team here. So they are about to get ready and walk on the pitch. So because if there's no players on the pitch, there's no data and technology, right? But here they come, so there we go. It's actually, some of them needed an excuse not to go to school today, so that was a good excuse, I think.
Okay, so let's have a look at the different, we're looking at basically 5 different technologies. So in the agenda for today, we have limb tracking that we will see first. Then from there, if you want similar but different technology, the automated event detection or tagging. Then we will have a look at the connected ball, which we talked for years. Then we will go more into officiating with VAR systems, but also the referee cam with Alex. So let's start with limb tracking. And is it correct to call it limb tracking? What is it exactly?
It's
I remember XYZ.
XYZ,
then
center
the
of
ball.
center of mass, then the ball, 25 hertz, even less than 25 hertz in the beginning, sometimes manual corrections.
25 times a second, 25 hertz is 25.
Correctly. Limb tracking is basically the detection of your individual movements. Each arm, each leg, each foot, etc., is very detailed, available. Every joint is available, and therefore we are able to detect new kinds of KPIs. There are new ways of analytics possible beyond the status that we currently have. So we are transferring information that previously had been gathered in labs outside of the pitch, in training scenarios, into the field of play.
Okay, and Hendrik,
here we go.
It started. From league perspective, how do you see this evolution of tracking?
So, like Christian said, so we start with XYZ center of mass tracking maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago, so a long time ago. But it took pretty long until it's being adopted in sports. So I remember when, here we see now the virtual recreation of the game. We'll elaborate on this. So what I'm trying to say is it takes a lot of time to adopt because it's kind of, you need to process data, you need to really work with it. But with XYZ, it's like position tracking, so you know where the player is.
It's a point, basically. It's a point movement.
It's a point, exactly. Yeah. And with limb tracking, you have like a 3D data, so you have more context. And really, to do something with data, which brings added value, context is key. And the limb tracking really brings some context in terms of the body orientation, or the ball handling, those kind of things. So this is really the difference here.
But now, Christian, it's obvious that what we are watching on the screen is not the real game. Can you explain what are we looking at the moment?
We are looking at the real-time, almost real-time 3D representation of the game flow. So it has a delay of 2 to 4 seconds if you are observing it correctly. Every single pass, every single movement, every individual movement of an arm, even the head orientation is being tracked by the system. That enables us to provide such kind of pretty impressive 3D animation for media purposes, consumer use cases, fan experiences. But below that, we have so many new data points available that we can even do biomechanical analysis so that the coach can receive, the assistant coach can receive further information about the movement of the player, do injury prevention, and even do further investigations in terms of fatigue and performance analytics.
And can you go a bit on the technology? So this is camera-based.
It's camera-based. It's purely camera-based. Yeah, it's purely camera-based. There are no sensors inside. Currently, we are using, for that kind of technology, we are using up to 16 cameras. And today, there are so many tracking systems in the stadium. I think it's the game with the most tracking systems ever, so that we can really see a lot of different applications. But yes, there are currently 16 cameras available. I would assume as technology evolves, always, we may reduce this amount of cameras sometimes in the future back to 12, 10, 8, depending on the evolution of the technology.
And I have a question to Hendrik as the host. Did you invite me because I had good moderation or because you wanted to test it if the tracking is taking my Pierluigi Collina head as a ball? I don't know that. Let's be serious and go to Manu. A coach, so basically Manu and Alex are clients of this, or the receiving end of what we are doing now. As a coach, you see this and you think, oh, nice, it's like my kid playing on the PlayStation or whatever. Or is it more than that? You see value in this?
Yes, in my opinion, it's...
And by the way,
yeah.
I said Manuel, like we were friends from age. Explain a bit to the audience who you are, even if maybe many knows you, what you have done in your life before this.
Okay, so I started what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So I'm at the moment head coach of the academy from RB Leipzig, and I was former head coach in Bundesliga from Augsburg and Schalke, and also under 20 national coach from Germany. And I also founded some companies. One do a lot of analysis for German broadcasters, and one other company is also interested in some data things. So I think I've got good experience in this part. So at the end, what I'm feeling, we get every year a lot of more data. But the question is, what can we do with this data? Through a coaching perspective. And if you see the match, you can divide every football action in 3 parts. So it's perception, it's deciding, and it's execution. And the most data we get are ball-related execution data. And if you calculate it down, you get nearly most under 1% of the data you can get. So limb tracking for me will be one interesting next step, because before you do execution, your body has to do something. So good players can read the body of the opponent, because before you do a pass, your leg has to go back. And good players make their decision out of the body language of the opponents. And if you, for example, use it for scouting, you can go much more deeper in analyzing the players than only look to the execution. So this could be one interesting thing, but you have to build a bridge between the data guys and the football guys. And if you have got a good bridge, they can play good ping pong and make it really useful, the data you get.
And JB, tell us who you are and why you're here. Good reason, like for Manu, very good reason.
I'm not a head coach. Working in sports industry for 10 years, mostly at UEFA back in the days. Created the UEFA Innovation Hub, and now own venture, helping sports organizations on their journey and advising as well startups or tech companies. What you just said is perfectly right. I think the problem, I mean, not the problem, but for that is like you have to imagine that only 5 to 6 clubs, maybe 10, are using limb tracking today. Really, in terms of, like, let's be honest, like the democratization is not there. First, most of the clubs is like how they use event data and potentially event plus tracking at scale with automated highlights. So that's the key for any kind of sports performance today. It's like how you use that. Now, once we've said that is, okay, event data, I don't know, there was a goal or a pass or something, so you want to know exactly in this situation with high pressure or my goalie doing that kind of pass, how is that happening across my 20 last matches? You can see the tracking data as you are not touching the ball, but still you are creating the space. What's interesting with limb tracking, that's what you were saying, it's more on success, like on a goal or something like that. What was the body position of the players? Also the pitch scanning, so how is it looking at the pitch and stuff like that. So that's another layer of information. But the reality is that sports performance team are only 2 to 3 people. I mean, if I'm talking like in the vast majority, even in Bundesliga clubs. And so how do you harness all that data and make sure that you get the right insights on this specific play when you have high pressure and that you want to know exactly the body position of the player? So for me, it's really the future. We need to make sure that for sports performance team, they can really use it in a perfect way, because every weekend and every at the training center, they don't necessarily have the time for that. So it's how you digest all of that. And at the end of the day, data is a tool. So it's just, yeah, at the moment, it's still something that in football, like we've worked with goal for baseball, that's completely different. Or even NFL, you mentioned it like for the quarterbacks, because it's more action play. They're really using it for how you throw and everything like that, which is different with football. And so there is still, I think, a bit of time before it becomes something. And one thing, it's the first time maybe in history, I mean, I don't know, but I've been in this space for less than you, for sure. But that's the first time where I see a new wave of data which is not coming from sports performance first with a bit of 5 to 10 years, but directly more into the media sites and broadcasts.
Yeah.
And that's really something which is changing the game as well. That you can see is that if you think of the second spectrum of this world or stuff like that, it took years for them to develop this kind of technology, get the right tracking, get the accuracy, work with the coaches. It's the same with every data service providers. Today, we have this. We can directly see the media and the broadcast out of it. For sports performance, it's still in the future.
Yeah, it's a path to funding on the other way. Hendrik, you see this as a league and you see, okay, we can use it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, if you watch it closely, I think where you see now, you can really switch, camera perspective. So I remember a couple of years ago when we discussed, do we need to put on VR glasses on players or so? But this is all natural. You can do this. You can just switch from player perspective. You can switch to a referee position. You can even go back and forth. So I think there's a new asset which a league could commercialize. But yeah, let's focus maybe really on the application on sports, because I really think, as JP said, it takes time to adopt. But we are here to discuss the future, and so I mean this is I think about to come. And we as a league tried that as a league can kind of support it and maybe bring the fundamentals and help the clubs to find the use cases for them. So that's like a facilitation role of the league.
I was thinking, I think in terms of democratization, it's also, you see plenty of videos like trick shot, stuff like that, where it's super nice, but it's very costly. Even Okai and everything, it's he used to take many cameras. So how can a club, even on non-match day, can use it? Because you were mentioning player injuries or stuff like that. The level of information, even for match day, is not necessarily good enough. But how you can use the rest of this world or the people that are outside there, to democratize, because actually it's also a cost. And I think that what Hendrik was referring to is how the clubs can actually handle that as well from a budget perspective.
And before going technical, Christian, I want to involve for a moment also Alex. So you see, the referee is active. I'm mentioning you. It's all synchronized. Very quick, your experience, and if you have a thought about this when you see this.
The limb tracking allows us to have the correct position of all the players, and of course this is useful. For example, when it comes to offside positions, especially offside positions, so it's of course it's a great thing to detect it automatically. We'll talk about this later on when it comes to the ball data. So of course it's a great progress.
It's one of the piece of the puzzle, basically. Yeah. And by the way, just a quick raise of hands. Are you impressed by this or not? I was. Shy, but yeah, okay. And one last question for Manuel, a very serious one. How many goals will your team score once you have this? More? You don't know.
Yeah, but I don't think, for example, in academy, we are practicing to develop players. Perhaps it helps us to develop our players better, on the one hand. The coaches will get perhaps some deeper reports if their coaching style or the intervention or the goals they have in their training session, did they reach it? Are these the right goals? Who suits to the training session to develop the players? So I think at the end, a goal is one thing you can measure easy, but at the end...
it's a better understanding of the game?
Yes, of course. And normally the focus is on the offensive player who scores the goals. Yeah. But what is with the center backs? What is with the full backs and so on? And if you can create the whole data journey to, like I said before, the football action, how do I analyze it? I think we can develop them much better than it's possible at the moment.
So I already learned something today from Manu. Perception, decision, execution.
Yes.
Christian, as techies in the room at least, a bit. This is, I can imagine, tracking was already a big amount of data. This is huge.
It's huge.
Can you just quickly dive a bit on the complexity of this data?
Due to the reason that we have every joint available, at least 25 times per second, the amount of data extrapolates immense. Therefore, the complexity behind it to do all the analysis, to run the cloud systems gets more complex. But due to the fact that there is now neural networks available, artificial intelligence available, and with the data that we already have in Bundesliga, in our databases, we are able to train the networks to make use of that data in a more efficient way.
So I think I would like to stay more, but let's move to auto event detection, second subject. This is a bit different. What does it mean, tagging, auto event detection, whatever you call it? Can you explain what it is?
In the early days,
Yeah,
and for many years, until a couple of years ago, maybe only 1, 2, 3 years ago, it was a manual process, tagging all the events, tagging all tacklings, tagging all passes, assigning the player, assigning each individual foot, the outcome, etc., etc. With the horizon of new technology on the algorithm side, but also on the tracking side, there is more data available.
And this is what we are seeing on screen?
Yeah, that enables us to do parts of the event coding in an automated way, so that there is a higher degree of KPIs available because we're doing it automatically. But at the same time, we are moving parts of the manual process into the system itself to increase speed and number of events.
And Hendrik, I'm trying to understand what we see on screen.
Yep, so
Describe it for us.
The audience is not confused. So as you can tell, we switched the output there. So now we are first at the Truck Cup virtual recreation. This is now second spectrum. And as you can tell, it's a game match day from last week because we do have an installation, fixed installation in the stadium. And we as a league, we use this on a constant basis. This is from last week, but it works live as well. What you do see here, obviously, the events are being detected automatically. So like Christian said, normally there's a number of people involved to annotate those events. But using this limb tracking data and information, you automatically detect those events. So you can imagine this is obviously saving time and effort because it's all automatic. So you basically just need Hollow cameras. I believe for this one we do have 26 cameras, if I'm not mistaken. So they're all installed around the roof, covering the whole pitch. And then there's some magic, like AI magic, who are detecting events.
And I wanted to ask JB, I mean, you have seen this used by different leagues, federation, clubs. What is the need for this? What is the usage
of this? I think the main outcome of this is you spend less time in tagging. And so when you are an analyst is, okay, I want to know a pass in the last 30 meters that outpassed 3 defenders. And so if you can merge, I mean, once the automated tagging is done, you know all the passes, you know all the key moments. If you can merge that with the tracking that we were talking together, so when you know exactly the position of the player, and if you have a pass in the last 30 meters, that is killing 3 defenders, then you have all the shots, all the play of the last maybe match or the last 10 matches for which you have this specific action. And then if it's all automated, all tagged, then it's easier for you as an analyst to go into and say, okay, this is how they play, maybe the opponent or your own team, but you will know exactly the different action of play and everything. And if you go back to the limb tracking, you can watch it and potentially say, okay, maybe my number 9 didn't touch the ball for 80 minutes, but he's creating the space, he's positioning himself like this, and potentially he's scanning, or he's doing the right move, or he's being like this, which is, at the end of the day, creating the goal occasion, for instance. So this is really where I think for sports performance teams, the automated tagging is really important. It saves time for them, and they have limited resources.
I have to say, I remember when we were doing it manually, many years ago, Ronaldinho was playing with Milan, AC Milan, and he touched the ball 14 times. And score 1 goal, which 14 times I had the videos and said like only that. So it's a lot of.
So that's why event data alone doesn't give you a clue really on the coaching side of things. But if you merge it with tracking and you know how they're creating the space moving, and on top of that with the 3D XYZ, you know more the body position, where they're looking at, how they prepare. Then you have an extra layer, but you save time of the people analyzing it. And I think even for you at RB Leipzig, it's also how you train the data to be customized to your own way of playing. So you digest all this data, but you need also to nurture the data in a way on which how you want to play with high pressure, low pressure, or things like that. So, yeah.
And very quick as we move to the next subject, but how much qualitative information you have? Do you know? So it's already, you know already what type of, or not yet. Maybe
Not
you
yet.
have to combine.
You have to. We are currently in a phase where it's the introductory phase, I would say. So there's a certain way of manual support, manual quality check necessary, because the algorithms are not able to detect every single event, because events can be complex. So, but that's a question of time. So currently, it will be a hybrid approach.
So, new subject, very connected. Yeah, because it's a connected ball. I will ask quickly from Christian to explain what this is a bit weird. This is more difficult to understand what it is, and then I want Alex to explain. You know, we have been talking about connected ball again for ages, but this is kind of working now, right?
So currently, the ball which is being used on the field includes a sensor that is detecting each individual acceleration. So that means that we are able, and that's what you see on the screen. You're seeing
nothing is happening, right?
Nothing is happening because the ball is not moving, but now it's being moved again, and so there is a little bit impact visible on
I want to see it live.
which is basically indicating that there was a ball touch, or a deflection of the ball, or a bounce of the ball. So that enables us to detect pretty accurately the point in time where the ball has been touched. And in combination with all the other information that we are gathering around the field, we can also do then the assignment who was last on the ball.
Alex, a bit intro about your life as in the referee ecosystem.
Okay, to make it short, I'm the head of communications for the German referees in professional football.
DFL.
Used to work as a referee expert before, and we see two major use cases when it comes to ball data. The data allows us to detect even the smallest contact, smallest touch of a ball, and this is of course of relevance when it comes to the factual question whether a player touches the ball or not. This can be the case during potential offside situations or handball situations. We have around 10 to 12 situations per season where this is really relevant for the final decision of the referee. This is the first major use, and the second major use is, of course, the offside detection process itself. This data can significantly help us to reduce the time for a review, of course, because we can quickly and exactly determine the kick point. This is, of course, is very important in combination with limb tracking. As everyone can imagine, this is of great use. Of course, we already see this in the Champions League, for example, when it comes to the semi-automated offside technology. This is of great use for refereeing, of course. We have new possibilities, and everything is really more exact.
And from a coach perspective, what is the use of this kind of technology combined with the other? What do you think this will add?
So imagine you've got a training session and you've got 30 balls on the pitch and you want to put out some data and get some information out of the training, and you have, for example, no video. So you can use the performance data you get sometimes in the ball data also to analyze your training session, because on the match I think it's very easy. You've got 22 players in one ball. But in big exercises, if you have a training session and you've got two teams on the pitch, so 44 players with 30 balls, how can you use it for this thing, for example?
Yeah, that's a good point. And JB, sorry.
Yeah, maybe for some specific sessions, like free kicks or penalty kick or stuff like that, like where you touch the ball, how fast you kick it, so that kind of information, but that very kind of standalone actions. Otherwise, yeah, it's mostly officiating, I think, use cases.
And Hendrik, in terms of adoption, in terms of...
Yeah, and I just want to echo on what Alex said, that obviously there's a close collaboration between the DFB Federation refereeing side and the league, because we're showing this not just because of sports innovation, but we're actually doing offline testing in the Bundesliga as well, because we as a league think we need to push this. The FIFA colleagues did a great job around the World Cup in 2022, where they kind of introduced that. But we as a league really think this may bring this added information, which helps us to have a better refereeing. So as a matter of fact, there are competition games played in the Bundesliga. We actually have a sensor on the ball. but it's offline testing, and offline means it's not officially impacting the game, but we are using the data and figuring out how can this whole work out together.
We have an average time of about 90 seconds for each review when it comes to offside situations. We could reduce this to about around, I think, 40-45 seconds. So this is would really be a major progress.
And you said review, so we switched to VAR. Thank you, Alex. That was a perfect segue. You made it easier for me. So, very quick from Christian, what are we seeing on screen? This is kind of familiar to people, I guess, more than the rest.
What you see is an output of the VAR system that we introduced in Bundesliga 2022. And since then, we did a lot of improvement that you can see now in the scenario here. Probably.
But it seems like it's...
Or it seems something different.
Do we have a penalty?
Anyway, what we introduced over the time now is also VAR compact systems, which are able to do a lot of smaller leagues as well at the same time. We introduced new ways of doing the offside line, and we introduced the same system also to Major League Soccer a couple of weeks ago. Yep. So we are in the meantime now a really international company providing all those information around the VAR system.
So we see they're shy to score, but they're really into the game. So we have the first injured player, unfortunately, but he will be fine.
We thought it was a fake occasion, but it was a real injury.
But the one which we're going to be scripted is going to come up soon, right?
So just to be transparent, we are waiting for them to fake a VAR incident so we can demonstrate what happens, maybe even listen to the referee.
Listen to the referee. There's an audio communication available today between the referee and the stadium infrastructure so that everybody can listen to what the referees are discussing.
I mean, as Sportec, you started 2 years ago with this, right? Yeah. What is the evolution?
Here we go. We have the situation.
We have a situation.
I think that looks like a clear penalty to me.
Blatant error. Blatant error, of course.
Okay. So let's listen. That's a ref camera.
Also, Patrick, wir checken jetzt noch die APP, aber es ist ein klares Halten innerhalb vom 16er mit potenziellen Doxo.
Okay, für mich sieht es aus, wie wenn er nur wegrutscht.
So, abseits ist es nicht. Annahme nochmal. Auch weiterlaufen. Dort 1, also, APP ist durch. Ich würde dir ein On-Field-Review empfehlen. Und wir fangen mit dem Point of Contact an, wo das letzte Halten stattfindet, im 16er.
Okay.
I think we all understood the referee is going to the VR review station that is on the other side.
Also, das ist der letzte Punkt, wo er gehalten wird. Und jetzt lassen wir dies im Loop einmal laufen.
Ja, also Point of Contact klar innerhalb.
Klar innerhalb, genau. Das ist der Loop.
Okay.
Und jetzt würden wir dir noch eine Hintertor-Hoch-Einstellung einmal geben.
Halten ist klar.
Ja.
Jetzt ist sie.
Beziehungsweise die Hintertor-Hoch hat es nicht drauf. Aber da ist das Halten auch sehr deutlich.
Okay, Point of Contact passt, Foulspiel passt. Jetzt ist nur noch die Frage, persönliche Strafe, gelb oder rot, ist Doxo oder Spa?
Das ist für mich Doxo, ja.
Doxo, okay. Also rote Karte, Nummer 23, Strafstoß.
Korrekt.
Nach Ansicht der Bilder Strafstoß, rote Karte für die Nummer 23 Düsseldorf aufgrund von Halten.
Okay. Penalty? Penalty or not?
What will you say?
Penalty?
Penalty, yeah. And great.
Is it real? So the poor guy has to go out?
Poor guy.
So also for the league game, he can't play.
Okay.
So, okay, thank you players, thank you referee for doing this for us.
Thank you guys.
So, pretend it's real. Alex, sorry. Describe what we saw, what happened, and how you think this will impact, I mean, the real games with all the attention and...
I think it's probably a good thing to explain some abbreviations the referee used. Doxo, for example, means denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. That would be Notbremse as a translation in German, and APP is the attacking possession phase, which has to be checked right before the decision, because if there is an offense by the attacking player, it wouldn't be a penalty. Okay, we have to probably have to improve this. I mean, this was a really obvious case, so I think we don't have to talk too long about the decision itself. What's really very important is the clear communication process between the referee on the one hand and the VAR is of great importance. The communication must be precise, of course, and it must contain all the relevant information as we got it when they talk to each other. And perhaps, I don't know, one day this will be kind of a standard that we hear the communication live between the VAR and the referee, and maybe even that the referee announces and explains his final decision. We already witnessed this at the Women's Championship, for example, and at the Under-17 Championships. In general, it's increasing transparency is really very important, also for us, of course. Increasing transparency when it comes especially to the VAR. And this must also be the case in the post-match follow-up, so to say. So we're considering to develop in kind of an explanatory format, either online or in combination with the broadcaster, to make referee decisions and also VAR interventions transparent to the audience. I think this is a really, the big issue we have to face.
But do you see, clearly, there is a bit of a difference between what the audience, even the commentator, would understand, and the technical language.
Yeah.
So how do you see this happening? If it goes, I totally understand in transparency, maybe JB can also deep dive on other cases in other sports, but do you think that then you will have like language to really make it effective, because you have to be quick, and then the official explanation, maybe it's more natural language?
Yes, of course. I think the audience would have to get used to the language we use when it comes to the rules of the game. This is also a job that the media should do, we should do, of course, explain what DOXO means, what APP means, for example. Probably some big part of the audience didn't understand what they are doing and now doing the check. So I think this is part of the jobs we have to do.
You have experience with other with other leagues.
VR,
the NFL, I mean, it's a good example.
Yeah, but it's personal thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's everything that helps is officiating is better, but technology cannot solve everything, or sometimes you can mess up also, and everybody has a personal feeling, I think, with it. I think at the end, it's if you can make it more humans, like realizing the refs are just humans. You are helping them, but you can see it in rugby, like you hear everything they are saying, they are speaking with the players. So the more you are doing this, the more you are making it available and transparent, I think the best it is. But VR is very, I think it's too much of a personal thing rather than
And
what does the league think about these developments?
I have a personal opinion about that, but I echo what Alex said. So I have been part of the whole VAR journey for a couple of years, and I think really transparency and communication is key. So the better and the more transparent you are and the better you communicate that, the acceptance of VAR will be there. And I talked to a lot of other leagues and federations, and the discussions are all the same. It's just they come in waves, But I think everything we can do as a league and as a competition organizer to make it more transparent and to really explain what is happening, and then together with the referees, because they are the main guys, that they are helping to communicate it to the outside world. This, I think, helps. And first goal.
No. So I had a question for Christian that was interrupted by the real incident. You started 2 years ago, and you already developed VAR with SportTech. What has been the journey from the beginning to now?
So for the last 2 years, we really developed the system further. So we introduced new kinds of encoding technology, which is currently deployed in the United States for MLS, which enables us to really stream the video with a very, very low latency and high quality to the VAR systems, to the VAR stations, including all the feeds, not only one, but all of them. And we are trying to support the democratization of the system, of the use cases, by also getting takedown versions of the systems available. So not only the full coverage of a top-tier league was up to 24 cameras, but also smaller systems that enables also lower leagues to use VAR systems at a lower price point. So that's the evolution that we did over the last 2 years, including now the introduction of a new way of placing the offside line in a more semi-automated way, in a more supportive way, so that we are bridging the gap between a fully manual-driven offside process towards a fully automated offside process.
And Alex wanted to add something. Sorry.
Yes, but as we can see, it's important to also to broadcast, to show the images on the screen so the audience can watch it. But on the other hand, just imagine a referee explaining his decision in front of 80,000 spectators. The match between, let's say, Borussia Dortmund and Schalke 03 or Bayern Munich, this is not the same. So this is also a point we have to talk about.
So he learned a lot because he gives the perfect segue every time. So I want to talk about the last subject, which is the referee cam, the ref cam.
Yep.
JB already said it. We need to understand the referee are humans like us. They have a different job and more difficult, but you think the ref cam can help also understand for everybody in the ear of the referee what it means to be a referee, but also maybe used for different things like training, etc. How do you see this? Because I thought, okay, referee, maybe they don't want to have a cam here. I don't know.
It's a positive thing for the refereeing, no doubt. We had trials in the third league, in the match between Arminia Bielefeld and 1860 München, and several weeks ago in the Bundesliga match for the first time between Eintracht Frankfurt and VfL Wolfsburg. And I think it's very important to understand that these trials have been conducted to create material, to create images that help us to document the work of the referees, especially, and also to be used in media schooling, for example, and referee training. And we also used these images in our campaigns to recruit referees, because they can help make the referee's perspective clear, and it's intended to ensure greater understanding what is refereeing about. The images are spectacular, no doubt, but they can also be helpful for us as referees. The images show, and as you can see precisely, what the referee sees and also what he doesn't see, what he cannot see. So this is also maybe a chance to get to a greater understanding, of course. And another interesting point, from the match between Frankfurt and Wolfsburg, I talked to the referee, and he said the camera seems to have led to the situation that players run towards the referee less often, and they are protesting less. So maybe if this is an effect, this will also improvement for the referees, of course.
I totally agree. Manu and myself, we have a thing in common about the. We have 8, and I think Hendrik too. We have 8, 9 years old kids playing in football academies. His son is playing in Bayern München. My son is playing AC Milan.
But 1860 Munich.
Do you think this? I mean, and we as parents, we try to have them really play great football, but on the other end, maybe also get educated about respecting the referee, respecting the other team, etc., etc. What is your view in terms of being able to show this to your kids? Sorry, young players.
So they like it. So, for example, when you compare it also with social media and so on, so they educated themselves out of social media, for example. And I think it's also very important to give them a different perspective. And before I started in Leipzig, I worked with 6 first league referees. And it was really very interesting how good they are working. I also was in the cellar and watched the VAR, totally interesting. And I think we've got 3 important parts during the match. Team 1, Team 2, and the referees. And if you can be really creative after the match, who is talking about the match? Only 2 of 3. So at the press conference, they're only sitting 2 of 3. But they are really high-educated, high-performing athletes. Yes, exactly. And they have to make decisions in really a short time period. So it's really very interesting to see the people behind the referee. And for example, I think when I hear the word rule, in my head appears, it can be only right or wrong. But some referees in an in-fight situation say it's a foul or it's not a foul. So it's sometimes a little bit subject, but sometimes object. But you have to accept first the human behind the role, and they're really high educated.
Yeah. So we have few seconds to close. I just want to do a quick closing with Hendrik.
Yeah, just because that's a sensitive topic to put technology on the referee. So I just want to say that, I mean, we as a Bundesliga, we're doing not a solo effort here. So it's really in close collaboration with the football stakeholders, which are relevant. But as explained, I think it's really good. Transparency is key to have educational piece. And then I think you've seen the pictures. I think it's not so much the time. If something like this comes, it's more a question when, I guess. So yeah, let's embrace what the options and the advantages of it, and I'm looking forward. So
I think, as you see this, I'm already distracted because I'm thinking, okay, if I can tag the connected ball and put, so there is a lot that we can together develop here. I think that's my emotion and brain waves is, oh, there's a lot we can build on. I want to thank you, all of you, the players, the referees, and also all the people that work for days to put all these 100 cameras and technology together, and the organizer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.